Cougar Sports Saturday.
It's complete. Another touchdown!
Cougar Sports Saturday. A presentation of KSL Sports.
Left wing for three. He got it again!
BYU Sports Talk by Cougar fans for Cougar fans. Here are your hosts, Mitch Harper and Matt Baiamonte. On Utah's legacy home of the Cougars. KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Hour number 2 coming your way. Cougar Sports Saturday, off-season edition. So BYU basketball is off to a great start, 18th in the country. Had a little setback last Saturday against Utah. I thought they would win by double digits. I wasn't even close. That was I was surprised by that result. I'm not going to lie, Mitch.
I mentioned it on Cougar Tracks. Matt, you were trying to silence me last week.
I was.
I've seen far too many games in the Huntsman Center, Matt. History says BYU always nosedives in shooting at the Huntsman Center. Always. And honestly, for Utah, that was the critical win because BYU doesn't beat Utah teams that are worth their weight in salt. Like they don't beat Utah teams in the Huntsman Center that are teams that don't go to the postseason. So Utah will probably be a postseason team. Utah's a good team. They're the tallest team in college basketball, for goodness sake. And the fact that BYU still, despite their injuries, had a chance to still kind of win that game late. You would have liked to see a shot up, but that's the Huntsman Center for you. Like BYU just never done well there. Just never do.
I was wrong, dead wrong. But one thing that was interesting this past week in the world of college basketball is this NCAA transfer rule lawsuit. So let's pare it down to brass tacks and easy English. Basically, there's the NCAA had a lawsuit against them regarding two-time transfers, and they lost that lawsuit. That is allowing a two-time transfer, which BYU has one of these, in Marcus Adams, who started at Kansas, transferred to Gonzaga for a hot minute, and then transferred down to BYU. So what do we know about this transfer rule? Initially, the NCAA said that if anyone played during that 2-week window and then the ruling was reversed, they'd lose a year of eligibility. I think that's been backtracked now to where if you play and it does get reversed, it's fine. It's not going to be penalized against you. What have I missed on this NCAA lawsuit?
No, you pretty much covered it. The latest piece that came out yesterday afternoon, the NCAA says multiple-time transfers are able to play the rest of the winter season and entire spring season, so baseball athletes can fall under this too, without any sort of potential penalty or retroactively vacating wins, things like that. Like they can play. For this one academic year, these two-time transfers are cleared, in the go, ready to play. So that means teams like West Virginia, who we were talking about, BYU, they can now play their guys that were expected to never play this season. They were now going to be green-lighted to play. So that means Marcus Adams, that heralded transfer, top 50 recruit from Narbonne High School in Southern California, averaged 28 points per game his final season of prep basketball. He can play, and he's suddenly an in-season addition for BYU hoops. Now, these things have happened in the past where you get a mid-season acquisition. I remember back in the day when Trent Whiting was a mid-December addition after the semester ended. He joined the team late, and then BYU went on a big run that year in 2001. These sort of things have happened where you get some new addition mid-year. But for BYU, a team that's already really good, 9-1 to start the year, you could add a player like Marcus Adams, so that'd be a nice luxury. And I remember talking to Cody Feger in the preseason and training camp about Marcus Adams, and he was so excited about Adams' potential, but he was also more excited because if they did get the waiver at that time, this was October when we had this conversation, but he was like, I wish they, some of the guys last year's team could have been in the spot like Marcus Adams where there's no rush to put him into the fire because they know who their top guys are. This notion that Marcus Adams is going to roll in and make BYU a Final Four team, I'd pump the brakes a little bit there because I don't think that's the case. But I do think This is a guy that is a Big 12 talent. That's why they got him. I mean, he came on our show moments after he committed to BYU and said, Mark Pope told me, you're a Big 12 guy. We need more Big 12 guys in this program. He's got that ability. He's got NBA potential. I remember the the LA Times. They said that he might be one of the best, NBA prospects to come through the prep circuit in the Southern California ranks in a few years. So that's some top-end basketball down in Southern California. So Marcus Adams is a heck of a talent, but you got to ease him in to work him in. And this is a perfect time, too, Matt, because in non-conference play, BYU's playing some light opponents where you should be blowing the doors off these teams. He should be able to get some run.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Marcus Adams, I think, has the highest ceiling by far of anyone in the program. He's got that ability. He's got the measurables, 6'8". He has not played a college basketball game yet in his career. And I just have a hard time saying, barring injury, knock on wood, which you don't want to see, because this BYU basketball team has already fought through a lot of injury. They're still fighting through injury with Foose out for who knows how long. I just think it is incredibly unrealistic, and I think it's potentially harmful to the cohesiveness of the team to just assume we're going to plug this dude in and he's going to be a mainstay in the rotation. This rotation right now is working very well, and you still have to work in two guys. If Foose returns at some point, and there's no indication that he's out for the year, it's day-to-day, and that day-to-day could last for months, but we haven't been told he's done. So Foose is going to come back at some point. He's getting worked in because you need his physicality. And then Dawson Baker, I think there's always room for someone who can shoot it. And quite frankly, Mitch, in my eyes, from what I've seen this year, Trey Stewart's had some moments, but he has not been consistent. Dawson Baker could very well beat him out and be a rotation player at guard. Now, the same can be said for Marcus Adams at forward, but it's got to be earned. There's a lot of guys playing right now that are playing well. And so it is nice that you have the option to do so, but I don't think it's a slam dunk that you just say, okay, here you go, 20 minutes for yours. Yeah. Like, who's losing the 20 minutes? Like, if Marcus Adams can carve out a role and beat somebody out, then great. That's awesome for BYU basketball. But to your point, and it's a good one, this team, they don't need Marcus Adams this year to maybe get to the NCAA tournament. If he can find a role and he fits in and it all works, I'm all for it. But you have to be super protective of what you have going on right now because this team is playing with great cohesion, great chemistry. Chemistry is such an underrated thing in basketball, Mitch. Teams at BYU that have had it, Jimmer's team, Mark Pope's first team with Yoli and Jake Toulson and TJ Haws, when you have chemistry, you can have inferior talented players that beat other teams, especially in college basketball. We've seen it time and time again in the NCAA tournament. It's not all about talent. In the NBA, it's very different. Like, you've got to have tremendous top-end talent to win in the NBA. That's not the case in college basketball. You can overcome top-end talent with great cohesion and great chemistry, which this team has. So that is the priority. And if Marcus Adams, who got that waiver, can fit in, great. Now, next year, it's a very different conversation next year. Next year, you work Marcus Adams in. He has a large role. He's probably a starter. I'm just talking this year. Like, in a way, it's almost like sort of a bad thing because then I just hope they don't succumb to the pressure of we've got to work him in.
Well, I hope that it becomes a positive thing because I always think back to years ago, I think it was Bronco Mendenhall who said this, where whenever you get a transfer, you hope that they can instantly play right away because, especially if they don't have familiarity with BYU, because you can get a case of homesickness and you're like, I want to go home. Where he gets to experience BYU as an actual player this year when he wasn't expecting to do that. And then he goes, I want more of this next year because you look at the roster this year, you're going to have Spencer Johnson, Noah Waterman, Traden Christensen, Jackson Robinson. They're all seniors. If they all move on, that's 4 spots moving on. And then you're going to bring in Colin Chandler, a dynamic athlete who's like, Marcus Adams, a top 50 recruit. And you're piecing together these options, these players that have high potential, high ceilings for BYU basketball. I just think that it's a nice luxury for BYU to have Marcus Adams eased into this rotation. I think he's going to earn minutes. I think he's going to find a way to play. But he's a young kid. He reclassified. He was supposed to be a guy that was in high school this year. He reclassified to the 2024 class, so he's young. He's a 17-year-old, and that was evident by the moves where he's bounced from Kansas to Gonzaga, and then he ends up in BYU. And his deal is, his waiver wasn't necessarily two-time transfers. It was he enrolled after the the transfer portal deadline. So he wasn't expected to, play this year, barring a waiver. And now he's got that waiver through the court system. And that whole court deal was inspired by West Virginia. West Virginia was ticked that Raekwon Battle was not able and granted to play by the NCAA. But then you're seeing over at Cincinnati, Aziz Bandango, a two-time transfer, he's getting cleared. The NCAA is a joke. No one has sympathy for them. So you take them to the legal system. They're going to lose every time now. And that's being proven in the court of law, where please invite these lawsuits to the NCAA because they will be defeated. And so now it's an opportunity for Marcus Adams to play right away. And I think that he will find minutes, but I just think that I don't think it's imperative that he suddenly gets vaulted to the starting five or anything like that. I think that they're going to work him in. I don't think Mark Pope's being realistic about it. He understands the dynamic, even coming into the year. Like that first practice at training camp when everyone in the media was wanting to talk about Marcus Adams, it's like, assistant coaches are like, hey, we're working him in, but he's banged up. He was dealing with an ankle injury that back then in training camp. Like they're putting realistic expectations. They knew their core coming out of that foreign trip. You're not going to kill the good vibes for a freshman, but if he can earn his minutes, he's going to. And Dawson Baker, I think, is someone that can really reshake the rotation because I think he's got the potential to be one of the best players in the program. That's the ceiling for Dawson Baker. So I really like the options because BYU needs it because they are a banged up group right now.
That's where I love this the most, though, is it adds depth for injury insurance because
yes.
I don't think you'd take away Atiki's minutes right now. I don't think you take away Waterman's minutes. But if someone is going through a slump or someone else gets banged up, you have that option to give him more minutes. Or, and this is the scenario that would play out the best, is that he's just so lights out, you have to put him on the floor.
Right.
And that would be phenomenal.
And if that evolves and he becomes this outstanding, like bona fide one-and-done type talent like some believed he could be when he was in high school, by all means, throw him in the five, baby. Let's go. But for right now,
he's got to earn that.
Yeah, you got to. It's a process. This is a Big 12 program. This is not some afterthought program. Again, I think sometimes Cougar fans undersell BYU basketball as like a brand and as an entity. It's like they're a Power 6 conference team now. Like you don't think small time. You're now a fish in a big pond. Act like you're a big time program. Like you don't just hand the keys to someone. You got to go earn it. It's a meritocracy. Go out and earn that thing. And if he does, by all means, great, because that bodes well for BYU because we know the current rotation, bunch of talented players that could get to March Madness. And if Marcus Adams evolves and becomes a lights out player, that's even better. Where BYU's talking about dreaming big for this season.
Let's take a break. On the other side, let's get back to football. I can't believe this. Early signing day coming up this week. We'll get Mitch's thoughts on who's on the radar, any names to keep an eye on for BYU football.
Welcome back in Cougar Sports Saturday here on KSL News Radio. Mitch Harper, Matt Baiamonte with you every single Saturday, noon to 3. If you miss any part of the program, download the show on podcast, KSL Sports app, and all podcasting platforms. Signing day coming up, one of my favorite times
really is.
Of the year. I love signing day.
Do you carry as much passion for this one as you did the February signing period when that was the thing?
Oh, no. I miss signing days of old where it was, February signing day, you're waiting on Haloti Nata. Yeah. Like, that was...
Tell us a story from your childhood of signing day.
Okay, so signing day was a day where I got checked out of school. Like, it was a holiday.
That's amazing. This is
my
great.
dad checked me out of school. So I'd go to the Cougar Club luncheons with my dad, Lavelle didn't do this much. It was more Gary Crowton brought it in. I'm like, oh, yeah, this is the next wave, baby. Like, I love Lavelle, but, yeah, Crowton's bringing in the recruiting hardcore. Like, we're talking recruiting, baby. So I remember 2002, I'm like 14 years old, and Crowton's like on crutches. We're eating hoagie yogi in the Cougar Club lunch. It's me, my dad, and like 30 other grown men.
Was there anyone else your age in the room?
No. Like everyone was at least 30
This is
plus.
great.
And it was a Q&A session. And I am just peppering Gary Crowton with Q&A. Like I asked him, I said, okay, Scott Young, like what's kind of the upside? Like could he flip over to O-line? Like what do you think about like positions? And he's like, yeah, we're envisioning him as an offensive lineman potentially. We're going to start him out at D-line. Then I'm asking about Ben Olsen. I'm asking about, like, kind of player comps. I go, what about, Haloti Ngata? What happened there? And he's, like, talking about it. He's, like, going into details, like, Haloti's mom really wanted Oregon. Like, it just, we thought we had him. Like, it's stuff like that. It was an amazing time. Like, recruiting back then was special. And I even remember before, as a young kid, when I was 8 years old, I remember it was like the 1996 recruiting class. I remember calling up the Deseret News front desk, said it was the Thursday newspaper, like the day after Wednesday's signing day, because back then there was no internet. I'm like, why didn't you publish the recruiting class? Like, where is it? I'm an 8-year-old kid. Like, recruiting has just always been...
It's like you were born with it.
I love recruiting. I love it. It's just because I love... This is where teams are winning. Like, this is when you hoist up that Big 12 championship trophy in Arlington and Brett Yormark says, congratulations, Steve Darkisian. Wait, what did he say? That's when you win a title, is in February. The early signing period, I don't like it as much because you don't celebrate it as much because people are busy with Christmas and the consumer's just a little bit more distracted, and there's bowl games, there's the NFL. Like, it just had its own standalone day in the middle, February.
Yeah.
And it was like, you just get this kind of football fix of college football in February. It was awesome. It was the best. So I hope it goes back to that. I don't think coaches want to because, once you get this signing day done next Wednesday, you can start identifying 2025, 2026, 2027 kids starting at the break of the calendar year when you get back from the holiday break. So
maybe you could meet in the middle, though, and have the Wednesday after the national championship signing day.
Yeah. See, I feel like they should do it like basketball, where in college basketball, you've got like the first week of the regular season, you've got that signing day. Like, Colin Chandler signed a few years back, Brooks Barr this past year, last month. That's, do something like that in football. I always point to midway through fall camp. It's the dog days of, fall camp. You don't want to hear questions about, hey, what's it like being with the boys? Like, no one wants to hear that. Like, let's have a breakdown of recruiting classes and guys that are like Reiner Swanson, tight end from California. He's a BYU guy through and through. Whether Steve Clark's there or not, he's BYU to the bone, man. Let him sign in August and enjoy his time as a BYU Cougar. And then Kalani can come out to us in the meeting and go, yo, we signed Reiner Swanson. What a kid, man. Love that guy. Like, he's just BYU through and through, man. I love that kid. Like, I want that. Like, I want that. Give me some of that action. And then the guys that want to wait, they can go till February. I feel like there's got to be some sort of meat in the middle because the college football calendar right now is such a mess where everything is converging right now and there's no real oxygen given to these high school recruits anymore. They don't get any sort of, kind of hype anymore.
I wouldn't mind even so the high school calendar is what? Mid-August, Thanksgiving-ish, a little before then.
Yeah.
Some of these kids, why don't you have a signing day in late June?
Yeah.
Like June has always been a big announcement kind of month. What if it's then?
Yeah, I think I always kind of point to August, though, because then you're done with the summer camps because the 7-on-7 circuit is where guys can climb. We can pile up the offers and really make a name for yourself. But there maybe should be an argument to say, let them sign whenever. Like, if they're ready 2 years in advance, let them sign. Like, just do it. Maybe that's where we move to, where the NCAA just says, if you're ready to sign on the dotted line, done. And then you don't have to exert any sort of resources other than, hey, you doing good? Like, because right now it's still this, kind of games where you got to, kind of if you're Kalani and this staff, you've got to make sure that these 17-year-olds and these 18-year-olds are very happy and they're getting the recruiting edits and they're getting all the praise. Like right now they're in the middle of trying to make sure to solidify Therian Alexander, a cornerback from Georgia who had West Virginia. He's got Georgia Tech on the trail. He's told me that he's locked into BYU, but still, like they got to nail that down. That was about a month ago where he's like, I'm all in BYU through and through, but the hometown Yellow Jackets are really trying to flip him. If you could get him back in August when he committed and just sign it, then you're done. It's over. Yeah. So there's a juggling act to all of this, but I do miss that February signing day. That was an epic day. Like it was core memories as a child for me growing up. I loved signing day, and I still do. I'm excited to see what BYU can do though on the recruiting trail. Like there's a kid, Danny Saili, defensive lineman who's committed to Texas Tech, 6'2", 355-pound lineman who's currently committed to Texas Tech, Hutchinson Community College. They're hoping to flip him. He just got an official visit at BYU this past weekend. I love, too, Therian Alexander. He's tweeting out pictures from Swig. Like, how awesome was that? Yes. Like, that's so BYU to the core. I love that. I'm like, well, most recruits are out there going, probably partying, getting wined and dined, getting all these club seats, BYU. There's Swig, baby. Get that endless summer, dog. That thing's good.
I'm a Beach Babe kind of Swig person myself, but
I had a Beach Babe recently. That was sugary, man. That like rocked my stomach. I was like, oh, but it is good.
You can make a diet. That's the key.
But I got like a 44, like hardcore. So I went all the way. I went to the max, man. I was like, woo, it's like hurt. I was feeling sugary after that.
Did you throw a sugar cookie on top of that?
You know me.
That's great. We better take a break. News, traffic, and weather coming your way on the other side. It's back. I've been chomping my teeth at this. The top five's coming your way next.
It's Cougar Sports Saturday.
It's complete. Another touchdown!
Cougar Sports Saturday. A presentation of KSL Sports.
Left wing for three. He got it again!
BYU Sports Talk by Cougar fans for Cougar fans. Here are your hosts, Mitch Harper and Matt Baiamonte. On Utah's legacy home of the Cougars. KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
I love this time of day on Saturdays, especially during the off season when the top five becomes a staple every single week at this time. I don't know about you, Mitch, but I have been sorely lacking just the competitive juices in my life on a weekly basis. You feel the same way?
Oh, yes. I am missing that, and it's back, baby. Top five action. Let's get it on.
The Cougar Sports Saturday Top 5, sponsored by Economics Partners. Mitch and Matt clash in a weekly battle of BYU sports knowledge. Here's the Top 5.
For those of you who are new, because it's been a long time since we've done the Top 5, this is how it works. Producer Nate, fresh off a Bahamas Caribbean cruise, he puts together a list. It could be factual, it could be preferential. And myself and Mitch Harper, we take guesses back and forth until someone gets 3 correct guesses, or in a very rare case, if we run out of time, then producer Nate gets the win. But it's a fun little competition segment that we do around BYU trivia. Welcome back from your cruise, Nate.
Yeah, it's good to be back. I mean, look, I'm not going to say it's good to be back. It's good to be back on the show, but I'm not necessarily happy to be away from the Bahamas.
I can appreciate that. Mitch, on the other hand, has yet to appreciate the turquoise waters of the Caribbean on a cruise. All you can eat.
Yeah, I haven't enjoyed that yet.
You need to, though.
I just see the commercials.
Make a commitment
Sandals.
right here now that you will enjoy. You will partake in a cruise at some point in your life.
I want to. It sounds amazing, but I'm just afraid of swimming on water. You got to understand, man. I'm afraid of that.
No swimming required.
I'm afraid of that Finding Nemo ride at Disneyland. I don't want to go in that submarine. I don't want to go underwater.
I'm afraid of that too, but you don't have to be underwater on a cruise.
I need windows, man. I need to look at some industrial yard in a Big 12 city as my view. That's what I need, baby.
All right, producer Nate, what do we got? Why do I keep calling you producer Nate? I'm sorry. Nate, I'm just going to call you Nate.
Yes, Nate.
It's fine. Hey, Matt, so you have been really excited for the top 5. Do you know what the number 112 is?
The number 112 happens to be the amount of grams of sugar in a can of Mountain Dew.
Really close. 112 is the amount of days that have passed since the last time you won the top 5.
Oh,
Wow.
Oh, my
112.
gosh.
You got to go back
That's
to
why-
August 26th.
Oh.
Nate, he's just revealed my secret. I launched a website that said, when was the last time Matt Baiamonte beat Mitch on the top5.com? And it's got a picture of Bronco with that sad view of his face in 2013 before the BYU-Utah game. How many days has it been since Matt beat Mitch in the top 5?
How many times has it been? 3? 4?
Let's see. 1, 2. This will be 5. So four times.
Mitch is on a 4-game winning streak.
4-game winning streak, and I think it might even. Let's see. Yeah, 4 games, but I think it's like he's got 6 of the last 7 or so. It's been a little bit, but you have a chance to get back at it today. Jackson Robinson scored 28 points in a win over Denver on Wednesday night, and that is tied for the 9th most points off the bench in BYU basketball history. So going back a little bit, since the year 2000, there's been only 5 other players to score 26 points or more while coming off the bench. So today's top 5 is to name those 5 players. So the last 5 players since 2000 to score at least 26 points off the bench.
Ooh, okay.
So
Jeez.
a
Here
little
we
tricky.
go.
What's the point number again? 26?
26. And these are all recognizable names. There's no
Okay.
random player from 2007 or anything like that. These are household names. And Matt's going to be starting out.
Do we have to give you the year or just the player name?
Just the player name. So don't have to say the game, don't have to say the year.
It's
just the
5
player.
different players?
5 different players.
Okay.
Yep. And there's a few of these players who have done it multiple times, but I'll cover those.
Okay.
Well, since he was in KSL's building yesterday, Mitch, I'm going to have to go with Jimmer Fredette.
Yep.
Oh no! I've lost the advantage.
What?
Jimmer Fredette never scored over 26 coming off the bench.
Even in that NCAA tournament game against Texas A&M in Anaheim?
Nope.
Wow. Man, I saw the guy that beat him out at the BYU Fresno State game. I was so tempted to say, how does it feel to walk around knowing you were starting in front of Jimmer? Ben Murdoch?
Yeah.
Anyway, how about this? Guy that played in the Jimmer era, Mike Lloyd.
Mike Lloyd Jr., that's a good one. Do you remember the game?
Yes, the NCAA tournament.
Yep,
it was against Florida, the double overtime game in the NCAA tournament.
Yep, 26 points. That's one of my favorite games of all time, honestly.
Yeah.
Like that was a fun game.
I remember, too, Mark Durant on that radio call, because I went back and listened to the podcast of that after that win and listened to that broadcast, and I remember listening to Mark going, because Mark and I feel like I relate to him as far as like the nerves that go into certain venues for BYU. And he's like, Greg, this is just what it's got to be to get that first NCAA win. Because you remember that time, BYU hadn't won an NCAA tournament game since 94.
Yeah.
I mean, it had been forever. It was like, are you going to get it done? They got it done, and that was an epic win for BYU.
It was. And epic chance for a 2-0 lead.
How about this? Jonathan Tavernari.
No JT.
Man, you know what? We should put that on notice because JT, he acts on actually he's dropping 40 a night. Just
He was
kidding,
not.
JT. Love you, man.
Let's go with, my goodness. The hard thing is which household names maybe came off the bench at one point in time. I don't think, I'm going to say his name anyways because he was a great scorer, but I never think he was a bench player. Tyler Haws.
Not on the
Because I think his
list.
freshman year he started.
How about Kyle Collinsworth? No.
He just wasn't a good scorer when he was
Yeah.
coming off the bench. He was basically rebounding and
You scolded me
Defense.
for getting that chocolate cougar tail. I'm sorry, Casey. That sugar was good. How are we getting so much sugar references on this show today?
let's go with Jimmy Balderson.
Oh, boy.
That's a deep cut. No
Love
Jimmy
me some
Balderson.
Jimmy B. The student section holding up the Canadian flag. Let's see. Let's go with, I think, Lee Kumar early in his career.
What
no,
about
but there is another player in that same range. So the Jimmy Balderson
Give a
Jimmy
hint.
Hart era.
Since I'm up 1-0, give a hint.
This guy.
Well, not
let's do
the
another one.
guy,
Let's-
but
yeah,
like-
let's do another one.
hold on. Let me just get a guess out there quick because
Yeah.
I'm feeling Matt Carlino.
Oh.
There we go.
There you go.
Baylor,
Okay,
right?
no hints.
First game, Baylor?
No. So 2 other games, though. He had a 30-point performance against Portland in 2014, and then a 28 performance against Pacific in 2014.
Oh, I don't remember those, but he could
No
fill
one
it
does.
up.
I think the Portland one, wasn't that the Bobby Sharp game? Wasn't that the triple overtime? Because that was in that weird phase.
I was on
think.
my mission, so I don't know.
Okay, I think it was in that weird phase where Carlino got benched and Cusick started.
Oh, yeah.
And Bobby Sharp just ripped him.
Yep.
It was like, what? And I think Tyler Haas had a 40-piece in that game. I can't remember. Maybe I'm getting it mixed up. It was weird. Let's see here.
Do you want a hint?
No, we'll keep going.
Okay.
How about Elijah Bryant?
Another good name, but no, not on this
Felt
list.
like he was another one of those guys that just pretty much started from the get-go because he transferred in, sat on the bench, and then next year was in the mix, right?
I'm going to cut in. I'm going to give one hint.
Okay.
So 2 of the remaining 3 names are players that spent quite a bit of time starting at BYU. Just because you said that.
Okay, they spent a lot of time starting. Well, what the heck? Why not? Nick Emery.
No, Nick. At
Noah-
least not in the records I saw. But
Noah
I don't know if they've been
Hartsock.
scratched.
He was. I think
Noah.
Jeez, that starting element is interesting.
I think I can know one.
Oh boy, I got to steal this guy from you.
I think I know one of these guys. This is a good list, by the way.
This is a great list. Brandon Davies.
How about Charles Abuo?
Good names, but I think you're just missing.
Jeez.
How many did any of these guys play for Pope as
Yes.
the head coach?
Yes.
Some of these guys played for Pope, huh?
Yes, and we'll narrow the window down a little bit. So this player played in the
Pope.
oldest player played in 2003, 4, 7.
2003, 4, and 7.
Yeah. At least these are the 3 times that he scored over 26 points off the bench.
2003, 2004, 2007. That doesn't help me one bit. I've got to be honest.
He was money from deep. Just money.
Mike Rose.
Oh!
Let's go.
Oh, I just had flashbacks of Gus Johnson. Mike Rose! BYU Xavier, right?
Yeah,
I
so
loved him
No,
back in the
Xavier
day.
was not on this list, but he
Oh.
did have 27 against UNLV in 2007, 26 against SUU in 2003, and then 26 against Santa Clara.
His
in
debut,
2004.
I always remember against Southern Utah, he dropped 24 off the bench. He had 8 threes in that his college debut. But yeah, gosh, how did I forget Mike Rose? He's the man. I always see him on Instagram. Got a beautiful life, living like the high life Instagram lifestyle. Love it. How about Rudy Williams?
Oh, that is
Nice.
a good
Last year
pull.
against Utah.
Yep,
That
last
is
year
a
against
good
Utah's
pull.
one, he had 26, and then he also had 26 against Creighton and 28 against San Francisco, so 3 times.
He was a bucket, man. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like BYU's gotten a lot better, obviously. I think Rudy was just at a disservice because he arrived so late.
Yeah.
Yep.
He then started to get good at the end of the season. It's like, well, season's over. You're not going to the CBI. So it was, but he can get a bucket.
Yeah, and are we back to Matt
Yeah.
for the
It's
win?
It's
Yeah,
2-all.
2-2.
I have failed many times in this position.
112 days.
You got
Matt.
2 already? I thought you got 1.
Yeah, he got 2. He got Mike
yeah,
Rose
I got
and Matt
Mike
Carlino.
Rose and
Carlino, yes.
and Matt Carlino. 2-all. Backs against the wall.
August 26th. It's a long time ago.
That's when BYU
August
was
26.
going to bowl games, winning 8 games.
Jeez. August 20. Yeah. Hope sprung eternal back then in August. Since we saw him the other day, what the heck? TJ Haws. Oof.
Okay. All right. This is tough.
This is a good list.
Only 1 appearance from this player.
1 appearance.
Didn't come off the bench very often.
Was it against a notable opponent, or was it just some random game?
Random game.
Oh, boy.
January 27th.
Oh, jeez.
I'm not going to say the year.
Oh, man. Let's go with Steven Rogers.
I love that. That crossed my mind. That's a great pull.
This player is coming off an injury. I think that's why he came off the bench.
Kyle Davis. Coming off injury. Jeez, this is tough.
I think he was coming off injury.
Jackson Emery.
Makes sense.
I thought about Jackson Emery too.
We're getting up against it. We might have to. Are we going to bleed this into 2 segments?
No, absolutely not. We're not bleeding this into 2. We're just gonna have to start going rapid fire
let's go.
here in a minute.
Do I say the injury?
No. Don't tell us the injury. One bit.
Okay.
Let's go with Chase Fisher.
Eric Mika?
My goodness.
It was against Pacific, so you guys are in the right era.
Oh, boy. Oh, no. Oh, no.
I got it.
Oh, no.
Go ahead, say it.
I don't think I
feel like
have
I got it.
Let's go with, geez. I don't have it. Ah!
Pass it? Give me the win?
Jake Toolson, this is depressing.
Same team, Yoli Childs.
Oh,
Yoli
jeez.
Childs.
2019-2020. Yoli. When you said Pacific, I'm like, Yoli! He came off the bench.
It's 2018. But
2018. Oh, God.
I don't remember
when he busted his finger.
Oh, yeah.
Yoli, though. I remember
Yep.
that.
So Yoli, 26 against Pacific.
Thank you for that hint, or else I would have been going and going. I was combing through the 2004 roster in my head. It's like, did Trent Plaisted come off the bench? Okay, revisit the 5 names again.
Yeah, so the 5 players that have scored over 26 points or more coming off the bench since the year 2000, we have Rudy Williams 3 times, Yoli Childs once, Michael Lloyd Jr. once, Mike Rose 3 times, and then Matt Carlino twice.
Good list.
Great list. That was a great top 5. Another painful loss.
When he said Pacific, man,
You had it.
I had it. I just remember Yoli having some big games there. I think 2 of them were off the bench. I think the following year in 19, he was coming back too. So good stuff, Nate. We got to get to a break on their side. We'll put a bow on hour number 2 and talk some more BYU basketball coming up here on Cougar Sports Saturday. Great list, Nate Slack. Welcome back from the beautiful Bahamas. Well done. You can follow Nate on X, Nate Slack 5. He's always got some good BYU takes. I'm convinced Nate created the movement of Cougar fans in the upper deck of the Huntsman Center last week. Nate was ahead of the curve back in, I think, September, knowing the ticket deals, and he spread that thing like wildfire, man, and Cougar Nation responded with a nice showing at the Huntsman Center.
Cougar Nation loves BYU, obviously, but you know what they also love, maybe even more than BYU, is a sale, a good deal.
Heck yeah, man. Who doesn't love a good deal?
I love a good deal. I'll talk myself into buying stuff that I don't need if it's on a great sale.
Yeah, that's my wife, man, to the fullest. Like,
I can appreciate that.
hey, I got you this new Built shirt. Why? I already have a few of them. Well, it was on the clearance, and it was a good deal. Like,
it sounds like you're describing me. I need, honestly, shopping therapy sometimes. Like, I got to go minimalist.
Yeah.
Clean out the closet.
Yeah, I need to clean out my closet. It's packed with a lot of old stuff. Like, I struggle to part ways with some of these old T-shirts. Like, do I really need...
Quest for perfection.
Do I really need the March Madness T-shirt from 2013 because I was there across the street when Wichita State went to the Final Four? Like, why do I need that? BYU wasn't even in the NCAA tournament that year. Like, why? I don't know. Like, I guess I always tell myself what makes me hold on to things with some of the clothes is that I kind of want to, like, let my kids have some throwback day when they get to the 2010s throwback day at their school. They can really lean into the 2010s or the 2020s. Like, that day will come, when my son is...
How many game day T-shirts do you have, though, that you can't let go of?
The game day T-shirts, I'm trying to think. I haven't bought really any in the last decade. My kids have some, but I don't have any of those game day shirts anymore. And I think the old ones I parted ways with. Those things got ripped, and They became good lawn mowing shirts.
What do you think of the game day tees turned into a blanket?
Yeah, I like that. I think that's a good move. I think that's always pretty cool. I had the whiteout T-shirt. Remember when they rolled that out? I think it was in 2006. They played Utah State. They had an all-out whiteout shirt. I remember I turned that into some sort of blanket thing. But yeah, I have some old BYU football jerseys, like the bib with 44 Rob Morris. Kevin Federick.
Hold on to that. That thing is incredible.
Kevin Federick, 97 with the Y on the collar, but then also 98 with the black on the collar. You got to be attention to details. I mean, that was always back-to-school shopping for me as a kid. Hey, Mitch, we're going to take you to the mall. What store do you want to go to?
Fans.
Let's go to Fans Pro Image, and let's get that new Margin Hooks. Fresh 14, baby. Let's get that 14 jersey.
Oh, boy.
That's going to exhaust your whole budget, Mitch. $60. All right, yeah, I'll wear that every day.
That's great.
Oh, you want to dress like Mike Impey and be a coach with khaki pants and a BYU polo? Okay, I guess for a 13-year-old, it's kind of weird. But if you want to.
That's awesome. Oh, that's good stuff. Let's take a break on that note. The khaki pants.
How do you follow that? You don't.
No, you don't.
You should look at the portrait in the yearbook.
Put that on social media, please.
That's Justin stuff,
we need
man.
that to be your profile picture on X. That's good. All right, we'll take the break. News, traffic, and weather coming your way. On the other side, let's check in on some hoops. They're having a good year. Let's get into some hoops talk next.